Okay, Justin, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Can you hear me? Am I coming through okay? Great, awesome. I have the mic here, and the debate we're doing tonight is, is Gary Johnson more qualified than Jill Stein to be president of the United States of America? And I guess my opening statement, is it okay if I start with that, Justin? Thanks, bud. Um, when you talk about experience, when you talk about being qualified, what does that really mean? Well, it means that there's been a body of experience, a body of policy experience, a proven track record of something that's measurable. Gary Johnson is a two-term governor of New Mexico. Most people know this. New Mexico's always been historically a pretty blue state. Lots of Democrats there, but he was elected twice to two terms, so that's pretty impressive. And during that span, accomplished a lot of great things. I could get into those metrics a little bit later here, but that shows me that executive experience is the first thing that comes to mind when I think about him being qualified. When looking into Dr. Stein's qualifications, just from an experience standpoint, it was challenging to find the necessary experience that would kind of qualify her to be able to be in that executive position, something so really the highest office in the land. She's run for office several times, and she's only won one election, but she's been running for offices since 2000, I think. So about 16 years without really winning. And the office that she did win, I think, was some town hall attendee. It was kind of like an equivalent of, I think, like a sub city council type of role. But at least she's run, which is commendable. But my question is, she can't seem to win. She can't seem to get to that place where she can get that experience in office, but she continues to run. In that opening portion, I think that it's important to recognize that dichotomy of experience. A two-term governor of a blue state who was able to work with the bipartisan house there, the legislative bodies there, to get a lot of good things done, versus someone who just doesn't have the executive experience to hold the highest office in the land. I'll turn the time over to you. Let's see how I do that here. Trying to figure out how to
Awesome. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Eli? Awesome. All right. So there was some good points made right there about Gary Johnson. He does have some experience. I definitely agree he has experience as a governor. Jill Stein, when I look into her, I guess the reason why I would vote for her, seeing that I'm the one making the disagreement, Jill Stein has actually, I look for someone who's articulate, authentic, someone who's actually done their homework and has actually studied what's going on. I look at her plan and the Green New Deal. I look at it as something that has actually, it helps people in many aspects, not just one aspect. It doesn't just help the rich. It doesn't just help the middle class, and it doesn't just help the poor. We do ask the rich to pay their fair share in taxes. We ask for a better environmental plan, and I guess that's where I disagree with Gary Johnson, is on the ecosystem, pretty much, with climate change. I disagree with him on some economic problems, but we'll get to that. I guess is my opening statement, right? So with Jill Stein, with her we have a good economic plan as far as the quantitative easing going. That's a creative plan. It could be a bit radical, but using it towards not putting that money towards the bankers and actually putting that money towards people who are willing to spend it, people who are willing to actually work for their money, people who have gone to school to actually start businesses themselves. Her pretty much, I just see the differences with the plans because I don't see any social differences. There's no social differences between Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. It's just about how we go about it. That's all it is. Gary Johnson's a little bit more qualified as far as the nitty gritty experience, but Jill Stein, I guess, has more of that authenticity, and she's also helped pass, I believe, an amendment where they actually got money out of politics in Massachusetts. So she's tried, but it's hard to actually win when you don't take money from campaign contributions from the fossil fuel industries and from all the other big corporations like Big Pharma and all of them. It's hard. It's hard to go out there and make your pitch when there's so many other people out there running with so much big donor money. But that's pretty much the differences between them. It's just really the about how we go about it. I think we agree with the overall plan and what we want the outcome to be for the country, but it's just about how we go about it. And I'm gonna turn.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. You made a couple points that I think are interesting. The approach to the economic side, being leaning as a libertarian myself, I struggle with the economics of her stances of everyone having a right to a job. And when I say everyone, she means on her own website, everyone. She believes a livable wage, a $15 an hour wage, is something that should be a right, and that all people, even those who are not participating in the workforce, the government should give them a job at $15 an hour. Economically speaking, you talked about how there's going to be incentive there for people to go start their own businesses. But from an economic standpoint, I don't see why they would have that incentive if they're guaranteed a livable wage off of the government, guaranteed a job, basically. I don't see how the funds will be there. I know that she has a tax plan where there will be a substantial tax increase, really across the board, especially with the corporate tax. And I think some of the wealthier individuals are going to pay more in taxes, as she puts it, their fair share. Economically speaking, I don't see how that is possible. It's not obviously Gary Johnson has a free market approach. He believes in opening up the possibilities of entrepreneurship, small businesses. He believes in letting the market drive itself, where it's free of the intervention of the government. Look, are some regulations needed? Sure. I mean, there might be minimal amounts of regulation to help keep us safe. I can't think of too many, but I'm not completely against regulation, and I know Gary Johnson isn't either. But by and large, he's a free market guy. And the thing with this country is when the free market was able to sort of run and do its thing, that's when some of the most amazing life-changing technological advances occurred. Bill Gates himself said recently in an interview that he would never be able to do what he did. He would never be able to do Microsoft starting today and build it to what it is now because of government regulation. And this is a guy who leans left. This is a guy who has openly talked about Hillary Clinton and his support for her. But he's talking about how regulations just have entangled that ability to proceed and to grow with supply and demand that the market provides. You also talked about donorship, and I think that Jill Stein does a good job of getting these individual donations. I mean, I can give her credit for that, but you do understand that her largest donor, her top contributor, is Google, and her second top contributor is IBM. I mean, she has, I read some top contributors here: Lockheed Martin, UPS, The Department of Agriculture has given her some money. Caesars Entertainment, which is the casinos, Aon Corp, Tableau, and Nvidia. I mean, these are corporations, so she is receiving plenty of corporate money. I know that a lot of her supporters have said the same thing. I've heard them say, "Oh, well, she's just taking it from individuals." But the truth is that she's not. She's taken thousands and thousands of dollars from companies, and companies like Caesars, companies like Google. These are people who know the game. They know how to lobby. They know how to kind of get what they want in Washington to help their businesses grow with favorable legislation. Were you aware that she had?
Actually, I wasn't aware. I'm pretty sure there's probably something in there that you could probably fact check as far as the donors, because I mean Bernie Sanders has accepted money himself from people, but it's just about how you go about it. Like you're not going to see, my bad, with somebody who doesn't take millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars from lobbying money, which was the big difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, was that he wasn't taking lobbyist money from these super PACs. I would see that she would go the same route. I wouldn't. She hasn't really had a reputation of proving that she's been against the people. Like I said, she's actually passed money out of politics in a certain state, so she knows the core issues. She knows that the issues are money and politics. She knows when you have your politicians, your representatives, people that are supposed to represent you, when they're the ones that are actually bought, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you as the individual can do about it. So when the corporations are also bought, that's where we get into that side, where it doesn't even matter if you regulate even less regulations we do. It seems like they're able to get away with more. ExxonMobil seems to be getting more subsidies, ridiculous subsidies, millions of dollars for research, scientific research. And then you have Big Pharma being able to, we're not even able to negotiate our own pharmaceutical prices. That's due to corruption in politics, and due to letting the corporations be able to do whatever they want. We're already letting them do whatever they want with the regulations we have right now. So imagine without all the regulations, if we just went through that plan, if we just went more into that area, it seems like we have to trust that the corporations are going to be able to be on our side. Like pretty much, when, like, I heard, which I wanted to ask you too, I heard Gary Johnson talking about his plan about abolishing the IRS. Also wanted to ask more about that, because I'm probably not as educated as you are on it, but I see an issue with abolishing all that and only having consumption tax, because that sounds like is only a tax from consumers.
Sure, I'll address that. It was a little choppy there on my end, so I think I know what you were saying. You asked about the IRS and him abolishing it. Really, what he's saying there is his tax plan is a consumption tax. Now, what does that mean? Okay, it means that he wants to eliminate income tax, eliminate it. No corporate tax, which the reasoning for that is because if you get rid of corporate tax, you get rid of about 80% of the lobbyists in Washington, who the reason they're there in the first place is to talk with these legislators in order to get a favorable tax situation moving forward with their businesses. So that's his theory behind it, is you eliminate lobbyists, you eliminate cronyism, and we can both agree. There's no doubt about it that Stein supporters and Johnson supporters can't stand cronyism. We can't stand the corruption in Washington. We can all get behind eliminating corporate welfare. We can all get behind getting money out of politics. And that's something that Gary has stands for, and I know it's something that Jill stands for. But his tax is essentially a consumption tax, where that way you pay based on what you consume. Now, businesses would be the same thing. Now, businesses actually do consume just like individuals. And so there would be tax revenue there from them. So that's his method of getting rid of the IRS. The IRS is a giant, big, bloated department within the government that really what they do is because the tax code is so incredibly huge and long and complex and confusing, that there are millions of people every year, individuals like you and I, who are breaking the law unknowingly because we don't understand the tax code. He wants to simplify that. If you simplify it or even eliminate the income side of it, change it to a consumption tax that eliminates the need for a bureaucracy to, check every jot and tittle and to audit all of these complex things. Because when you have complexity, you need oversight. The government loves that because the government will do anything they can to get funding and to increase their power, the centralization of that power. So that's where he stands on his taxes. And you did mention healthcare, and I wanted to touch on that because Jill Stein believes that healthcare is a right, an actual right that we all have. We all have the right to healthcare. She believes in a cradle to grave, fully paid for, including dental and vision, healthcare program for every American. My question to you is, how is healthcare and how is that a human right when? And I guess the sub question to that is, do we really have a right to the production of?
All right, that's actually a really good question. Well, I guess to rebuttal that question with the question, I guess I would ask, is it right to only take care of a certain amount of people rather than as much as you can? Of course, I'm not saying let's give more government, let's give everybody everything, let's just everybody have everything. No. Her plan is, as far as healthcare, we just don't want insurance companies being able to take advantage of everybody. We don't want, there's no point to it. If you're already paying money for Medicare and you're already paying money that goes towards healthcare, and you're already paying like what, $100-200 in health insurance. Some families pay a little bit more. Then wouldn't you rather just raise a little bit more in taxes because you're gonna buy that anyways? It just saves more. It saves more money, gives more money into not in the government, but into that, I guess you could say, that pocket, to where it's supposed to be, and that's what we do. We usually just take that money where it's supposed to be. We're taking money from Social Security. We take money from we use it to spend on the military, and we go out there with 1,000 bases, and we're out there for no reason. We're not out there making any profit for war. We're out, and which Gary Johnson would definitely agree that we're not out there. We shouldn't be out there profiting, or I guess out there spreading corruption, when we should be taking care of things at home, if you get what I mean. I'm a little choppy today. I just got out of work, so sorry about that. But I guess also, yeah, I believe that everybody has the right to healthcare and does, so I guess I would agree with that. The reason why I agree with that is
looks like we lost Justin. I guess his connection is probably weak. I'm assuming he's trying to get back on. But my whole point in asking him that question was really to get to the nitty-gritty of the Constitution and how we were built as a nation. The truth is that healthcare is not a right, because in order to receive healthcare, you need to benefit from the production of someone else, and we don't necessarily have a right to someone else's production, to the work or labor, the fruits of someone else's labor. I think the sentiment is nice. I think the idea of being able to take care of everybody and everyone gets health care and no one has to pay for anything, I think it all sounds nice, and that kind of messaging appeals to a large audience. So I can see how that kind of messaging would be popular. But when you apply it, when you bump it up against practicality and legality and constitutionality, that's a lot of rhyming. You find that it doesn't work. It's not right. All because it sounds nice and it sounds easy does not make it practical. It does not doesn't make it right. Look, the Constitution clearly says we have a right to life, liberty, and property, or the pursuit of happiness, as it's said in the Constitution. And those are our inalienable rights. He made a point of wouldn't you just want to raise tax? He was choppy, but I think he said, wouldn't you just want to raise taxes so that everyone can be taken care of? No, I believe that people, that's not the way to do it. I would love to take care of everybody. It would be nice. Again, that's a utopian concept, but you can't do it by taxing everybody. And because these taxes will get up to these insane levels if you let this type of massive government growth to go unchecked. Dr. Stein I think that she's a good person, but she doesn't understand how her policies will affect everyday Americans. You can't offer completely tuition-free and cost-free college to everybody. She believes education is also a right that we all have. That's just not true. That's patently false. She believes in healthcare as a right. She believes in a job as a right, a living